Welcome to Beyond Investments with your host, Seth Leishman of Ostro Financial Consultants. Information provided is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but its accuracy and completeness are not guaranteed. Neither LPL Financial nor the hosts of this show or accept any liability for the use of the information discussed. Consult with a qualified financial, legal, or tax professional prior to taking any action. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Ostro Financial Consultants, a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial. Today's guest, Rick Fisher, is a financial advisor with Ostro Financial Consultants, National Planning member SIPC. And now, Beyond Investments, here's your host, Seth Leishman.
Good morning and welcome to Beyond Investments right here on News Talk, KNCO, AM 830, right here in Grass Valley.
Good morning, everyone.
Seth Leishman, Rick Fisher here. Happy to be here
Howdy,
today. This is a beautiful Nevada County day.
Yes, it is. Sunny. It seems like we go every other day. We go cloudy, rainy, sunny. Cloudy, rainy, same. Which I like. It spreads out. You don't get too much rain at one point.
All at one time.
You don't become unappreciative.
That's right.
Of the sunshine.
Absolutely.
So it's a grace.
It's very nice, and I think we're going to be spring here pretty soon. I was looking into the next week. You're talking even as much as low 70s. Pretty impressive.
We'll have to start watching the buds on the trees because right now they're really, really tiny.
That's true. That's very true.
There's quite a few of them. There's more every day.
Yeah.
So you see these brown branches, these teeny little green shoots.
Yep, little ones. They're coming in though. I think.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it will explode.
Oh, the dogwoods are going to go crazy. I love having a dogwood in my house.
Yeah, we have awesome. Like 3 of them, but every year there's a snow and they always get damaged, and I have to cut some branches off, and then they grow in a funky way. They get kind of gnarly.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they are pretty.
They are pretty. Well, let's listen. What do we got this week in the markets?
Okay, so again, this is Tuesday. Everyone remember. It was a little rough day today. We got the Dow was down 308 points today to 32,423, down 403 over the last 7 days, so Tuesday.
Yeah.
S&P 500, similar pattern, down about 30 today to 3910. Last week it was at 39.63, so it's given up 53 points.
Yeah.
And the NASDAQ down 150 today, 13,227. Last week it was at 13,472.
Okay.
So down 245 points for the week.
Just a couple percent. Nothing crazy.
And we'll probably be up next week and then down. The market seems to be kind of a little flattening pattern.
Very much so, right?
Seeing what happens with interest rates, and the Fed chair spoke this week. Janet Yellen had some comments.
Yeah.
So the market was kind of confused. It was bouncing all around today. It started out low, tried to get to break even, and obviously didn't make it today.
Yeah, totally.
Looking at oil, had a rough day, or a good day if you buy gasoline. Down almost 7%, down $4 to $57.37 a barrel.
Wow.
Gold was off $13 to $1,726 an ounce. Silver had a rough day, down 2% plus, down 68 cents. Oh, excuse me, up 68 cents.
Okay.
To $25.08 an ounce. And then for the week, oil was down $7.43 for the week.
For the week, wow.
For the week, yeah.
Ouch.
Gold was off $5 and silver was up $1.
Okay.
10-year Treasury, which all the news has been around that, how it's popped up.
Tons of news around that.
Got up to 1.7% and change. Started off this week at 1.62. We're at 1.64. So it looks like again we're forming a trading range.
Yeah, it's bouncing around a little bit.
And so we'll be talking about that. COVID news.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's all pretty good.
That's good news.
Other than the people that pass away, obviously, or have serious complications. But in the United States, there are 30 million cases now, up 56,000 for the week. 543,000 fatalities, up 650 for the week.
Mm-hmm.
And for California, 3.7 million cases, up 2,900 for the week. 58,000 fatalities, another 184, so that's coming down. Nevada County, 4,200 cases, up 15. 89 fatalities, no new ones.
That's good.
So if you look at the chart, we've come down off that third wave, and now it's starting to flatten out to where we were,
Right.
a few months ago, which is good news.
Yeah, that's very good news.
On the vaccination front, 45 million people have been fully vaccinated. That's either they've got the one done or the two shots.
Or the double, yep.
83 million people have had at least one shot.
Okay.
So that's 25%.
Yeah.
And if you look at the chart, it's going up, not 45 degrees, but it's a nice trajectory up.
Nice,
So that's
yeah.
positive as well.
Absolutely.
So, hopefully and we have a lot of states starting to open up.
Yeah.
Hopefully by, June, July, hopefully by the midsummer, we can be fully open and herd immunity and all that.
Yeah. Some level, some semblance of normalcy, where people
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means, exactly, because it's not going to ever be the same. But, where people aren't, the fear of doing daily activities, right? And that cause of concern of, I got to be, I've got to wear a mask at this certain location. Maybe hopefully we've gotten to a point where enough vaccinations have happened where you're not as concerned about just going out and about and doing daily life.
Yeah. So one of the concerns right now over the last weekend, I guess, was spring break,
Right.
which happens every year.
Yep.
And it's traditionally either Miami Beach or Palm Springs or wherever they have
Right.
it. It can be a crazy time.
Yeah, that's right.
And I guess got more attention this year in Florida, whether it was any more crazy or more violent
Right.
than normal. But I guess there was a police officer that was hurt.
Yeah.
That made the news, and now there's concern: are we going to see a spike? And
Right.
the other issue is the immigrants on the border. Now that
Right.
the borders seem to be more open than they were before, and the message: are they coming over? Are they being tested? Is that going to be another?
Right.
So the things we have to watch out for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, having the open border, bringing in, COVID could be a major issue, and especially bringing in another strain of it.
Right. I mean, these people are packed into small quarters.
Very small, tight quarters.
As they have been for quite a while under both administrations.
Yes.
Despite the rhetoric you hear from the current one.
Oh my goodness, yes.
But anyway, so we'll talk more about that later. But
Yeah.
I think it's more lighter stuff. Let's get to some trivia.
Yeah, let's do some trivia.
Okay.
Good stuff this week.
So, yep, good stuff. Again, since this is a financial show, we start with financial trivia. So from Jason Zwig, 1987, S&P 500 closed above, what do you think?
1,000?
1,000?
No, I'm going to go S&P
Yeah.
500.
Yeah.
200.
300.
300.
For the first time, less than 1.5 years before breaking 200.
Oh, okay.
So it closed on this day in 1987 at 301.16.
Okay.
And what did I say we were at today?
Over 3,000.
So 10 times, almost, over 11 times.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyways, 1857.
1857.
1857. Elisha Graves Otis. What do you think? What do you think Otis did?
I'm assuming escalator or elevator.
Very good. Installed the world's first safety elevators for passengers in the EV Hogwarts Company store in New York City. Elevator came with a safety brake that activated when the cable breaks, which you don't want to happen.
Definitely.
And it moved at the outstanding speed of then 40 feet per minute.
Oh, that's a long time.
Well, it was 1857. So
Right.
it was like little hamsters running on wheels.
Right, yeah, pretty much.
But still, 1857, an
impressive.
elevator.
I mean, that was before the Civil War.
Right.
So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so that was high tech.
Yes.
That was definitely high tech. 180 years ago. 170. That's a long time
That's
ago.
a long time ago.
1720. So they'll coming
Even
back.
more.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
The House of Commons, after 6.5 hours of furious debate, grant the South Sea Company a virtual monopoly, and shares for the company jump around from $270 a share to $400 a share.
Oh, wow.
This action drives the earliest bull market in equities.
Interesting.
But bull markets do not last long, and it crashes by the fall.
Oh, wow. The fall.
Yeah, so just a few months. So
Yeah.
the party didn't last too long.
Well, the House of Commons, have you seen
heard.
YouTube videos
I've
of what
heard.
goes on in the
Yes.
British House of Commons?
6.5 hours debating that out.
Can you imagine that piece? But even today, have you seen, people should look that up. It is there are some YouTube videos out there that show, the debate and the process that happens in the house in Britain there, and it is, it's almost like a wrestling match. Like, it is absolutely comical almost how the debates go in the House of Commons in Britain today.
Yeah.
In the year 2021,
it's almost like a tradition.
It's almost like they're going to punch it, to blows. It's pretty wild. We think of Britain as this civilized society,
and it's very proper and
proper and print,
and about tradition. But that's a tradition they're holding up. They get a raucous in the House of Commons.
Exactly. Man, is it fun to watch that stuff.
I bet you if the cameras weren't on in our U.S. capitals, we might see some of the same thing.
You could see some of the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, so today, since we're closing in on opening day here in a couple of weeks.
That's right.
From today in baseball history, 1881. Home run champ Gavin Garath, he was born on this date in 1881. For those of you who have not heard of him.
Never heard of him.
Okay. He was a six-time home run champ for the Philadelphia Phillies. He won 6 home run titles in 7 years from 1913 to 1919. And he peaked in 1915 with how many home runs do you think? This is before Babe Ruth.
Yeah, so I'm going to go 30.
No, 24.
24? Okay, that wasn't too far off.
And guess how many career home runs? He played about 15 years.
Oh, you probably had 150?
119.
119, okay.
But still won 6 home run championships.
6 home run champions.
So he was the big homer guy before Babe Ruth, who obviously shattered the records.
Shattered all those records.
And then also in this day in 1943, Lee May, slugger primarily for the Red Sox and the Orioles, was born in the 70s and 80s. The 60s and 70s. He hit 354 home runs, had 11 consecutive years with 20 or more home runs, 3 consecutive years of 30 or home runs, peaking in 1971 with 39 home runs. So
wow.
Only Cincinnati Reds fans would remember Lee May.
Right, no. Good batter, though.
Yep, he was good hitter. He struck out a lot, though.
Yeah.
So he's one of those swing and miss kind of guys.
That's right.
Hit it long or strike out. In this day in music, 1956. What do you think happened in 1956?
Beatles.
The Beatles hadn't even formed their band yet by 1956.
Oh, no? Okay.
No, they came out in 62. But you're in this. 56. Put it this way: you're in the right ballpark.
Am I in the general? Okay, Monkeys. Are they before them?
No.
Man.
Oh, Lord, give me strength. 1950. Elvis Presley. That's we're going back a ways. Released his first album, and it spent 10 weeks on the U.S. charts at number 1. And it was the first rock and roll album to make it to number 1. And it was the first $1 million seller of the genre.
Really?
Yeah. So that's why Elvis is a big deal.
Yes.
That's why he's called the king.
Yes. $1 million. Wow.
1985, John Fogerty, formerly of Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Yes.
Went to number 1 with his U.S. album called Center Field, which is also the name of the hit song. Also that same year, Billy Joel married Christy Brinkley. And then in 1991, R.E.M. scored their first number 1 hit in the UK with their 7th album, Out of Time, which I own. It's a good one. 2 big hits off it, Losing My Religion. Most people have heard that song.
Yep.
And Shiny Happy People,
okay,
which had one of the guest singers from one of the ladies from the B-52s.
Oh.
She does that little background vocal.
Yeah.
And from your favorite subject, automobiles.
Yes, absolutely.
From 365 Days of Motoring, 1901. What do you think happened in 1901? You're not going to guess. Anyways.
No, I'm not.
Chicago had their first official auto show.
Oh, okay.
It opened at the Coliseum,
that's cool.
Coliseum Exhibition Hall event. Went on for 8 days.
Okay.
You're just wondering how many car manufacturers were there in 1901?
Yeah. To have a show.
Half a dozen, maybe?
Maybe half a dozen. To have a show last 8 days.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, that was interesting. 1937. We've talked about this gentleman a few times before. 5-time world land speed record champ Craig Breedlove was born on this day.
Yep.
He was the first man to reach 400 miles an hour.
Oh, wow. Okay.
500 miles an hour and 600 miles an hour. All the cars were named Spirit of America. And the Beach Boys wrote a song called The Spirit of America about his first record in 1964, breaking the record at 407 miles an hour. It's a good song. If you like the Beach Boys, look up Spirit of America. You can hear the whole story about Craig Breedlove breaking the speed record.
That's a pretty It's pretty cool. Really.
Yeah, three-wheeled is basically a J-47 rocket with a body, a tail, and only 3 wheels. One in the front and 2 in the back.
It's pretty, and driving that fast.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Just think if the bottle salt flats weren't quite so flat.
Right, yes.
It wouldn't take much to get that thing airborne.
Airborne, yeah, exactly.
And then bad things would be happening because it wouldn't stay airborne.
No.
Well, that's what I have for trivia. So
let's come
take
back.
a break.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk a lot about some more details about this most recent stimulus package and some of the economic and financial consequences and benefits and all those other things to chat about out there when it comes to this stimulus here that's been coming out. You're listening to Beyond Investments right here on News Talk AM 830.
Today's guest, Rick Fisher, is a financial advisor with Austro Financial Consultants, National Planning Member SIPC.
Welcome back. You're listening to Beyond Investments right here on News Talk AM 830. Rick.
Yes.
$1.9 trillion.
Yes, and so last week
stimulus.
Last week we kind of had a little fun with it. Just said if you took that 1.9 trillion and instead of spending it the way they spent it, if you just gave it to people,
how much would it be?
And it was depending on it was either $12,000 or $57,000 per person in that category.
In those different categories, yep.
But then we a little more to reality this week,
right?
Yes. And find out how did they allocate it in general terms. And, we might uncover some what we think are not essential costs, which we call pork or misuse of public funds.
Taxpayer money, misuse of taxpayer money.
But we'll start ahead from Forbes. The 1.9 trillion is allocated thusly.
Yes.
410 billion, that's the highest chunk, went to the $1,400 stimulus payments to individuals.
Okay.
Again, individuals making less than $80,000. Heads of how families 120 to 160 depending on their structure, and there's a phase out.
So that's 21% of the total.
21% of the total went straight into taxpayers' pockets,
and yet it was called the COVID Rescue Fund, Rescue Plan.
And we'll get to that. The next $246 billion went to extend unemployment benefits at $300 a week until September 6th. So that's again pocket money in the pocket of those qualifying people.
Yep.
Okay. So together we got about 650
billion? 620, 630, yep.
Then $360 billion, this is somewhat a controversial one depending on how it actually gets spent.
Right.
Goes to state and local governments, which is somewhat vague.
Very vague.
I don't know how much Nevada County's going to get. California will probably get a chunk, and hopefully we do something positive with it. But again, it would take a little more research to see, is that going to go to bailing out pension plans? Is it going to go, to pay down our debt? Anyways.
Well, let's be clear. We all know it's not going to pay down any debt.
All right, just try. Yeah, okay. You got me on that one.
That's right. No, it's just not going to happen.
$176 billion, again billion, to support measures as schools reopen. What measures need to be? I would need more detail on that to see if that's a good use at this point.
I'm assuming every school is going to have to buy, the equipment needed to sanitize classrooms every 20 minutes.
Hasn't that already been done, I thought?
I think a lot of schools haven't got enough to be able to go back to school full time. Yeah. There are a lot of schools that have enough of that equipment and staff to do it for like a part-time school.
Maybe we could get one of the people from the school district to maybe give us some details, get him on the show.
Scott Lay from the Nevada County Superintendent of Schools.
I bet you he knows.
Yep.
Or how he would like to spend it.
So that was $100 and something billion?
$176 billion.
$176 billion. Okay.
$143 billion for expanded tax credits. I'm not quite sure what that means. Do you have an idea?
Well, they wanted, so they're talking about, that one thing is, I don't know if this is falling under that, but, is that going to cover the fact that the first $10,200 of unemployment is non-taxed? Also trying to push for a higher child tax credit, a few other things like that.
Okay. Here it comes the COVID relief.
Yes.
So we've already spent spent a lot.
A lot of it.
$123 billion. For COVID-19 response. What response other than...
What does that mean?
Yeah, what do we have to do at this point that we haven't already done?
Yes. I don't know.
The Democrats did try to raise the minimum wage from $7.25 to $15. That didn't go anywhere.
Good.
I don't think it's dead, but
No. But it doesn't belong in this kind of a bill.
Correct. And we can have a debate on the minimum wage. Maybe that's another topic we can have, because I think we both have our opinions on that.
Right.
$105 billion on health. On health programs.
On health programs.
Yeah. Again, that could be.
That could be anything.
Again, I know, and hopefully, again, if it's for actually health that has to do with COVID, that's great. $59 billion to small businesses, which is good.
But how's that? What is that in the form of?
What's a small business? Who's it going to? If it's going to local bars and restaurants and movie theaters, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
If it's going to small cap businesses that are donors to certain administrations, not so much. And the cynic in me is telling me $56 billion to transportation. Again, shouldn't that be in an infrastructure bill, which they're working on now?
They're going to need to get done anyways.
Yeah.
Yep.
$16 billion for agriculture. Again, that industry may have been hit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the funniest one is, so we got down to $16 billion. Still, not pocket change.
Right.
So what do you think the miscellaneous other number? Because there's always an other, because they're not going to list out all these things that are less than six.
Right.
So what do you think if you add the other? Just
a couple of billion.
$194 billion.
$194 billion. So 10% of it.
So 10% of it.
10% of the entire thing is other.
Not broken out.
It's not even broken out. That's bad.
Yeah, so that could be payoffs to all sorts of people.
It could be anything.
I know.
How much money is going overseas of those billion? $194 billion. How much is not even going to stay in the U.S.?
So
yet we as taxpayers are going to pay for it.
Yep, we are.
And especially American public's going to pay for it, because the way to pay for this thing is either print more money, which is going to cause inflation. So in many ways, everybody's going to pay for it. The idea that you can raise taxes, or that you're going to somehow get the wealthy or the high income to pay more of this is, I think, a very common fallacy that people believe. Whereas at this point, this amount of national debt is almost impossible to actually pay back. It is mathematically nearly impossible to pay back by raising taxes. We cannot tax our way out of this national debt at this point. Maybe we could at, even 5 trillion, 10 trillion. But we're touching on $30 trillion in national debt.
Oh, we'll get there before the end of this year, I bet.
Yeah.
Or at the end of this first term.
Yeah, we can't. You cannot mathematically raise taxes high enough to pay back that debt anytime within decades. So the only way to pay them back, how else do we pay it back? We print more money. Yep. We print money to pay down the debt.
Devalues the dollar,
and it devalues the dollar, causes inflation. Mm-hmm. Well, who does inflation hurt the most? The middle class and the poor. Yep. That's who takes it in the shorts the most. So to think that this idea that we could raise taxes to pay back this debt.
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do, but let's go back to some of the good spending. So $1.5 million is earmarked for a Seaway International Bridge, which connects New York to Canada.
Wow.
Schumer is hailing. He comes from New York, so maybe he has something to do with that. $50 million for family planning, going to nonprofits, Planned Parenthood, and other public entities for services for adolescents. I'm not going to go there.
Right.
You don't want me to start talking about that. Okay. $852 million for AmeriCorps. AmeriCorps Vista and the National Senior Service Corps, the Corporation for National and Community Service, civic volunteer agencies. This includes $9 million for AmeriCorps Inspector General to conduct oversight and audits of the largesse. And they received $1.1 billion last year.
Yep.
So I'm not quite sure what that has to do with
COVID. And the COVID Rescue Plan. American Rescue Plan. Whatever they call it?
The American Rescue Plan.
Yes.
Certainly, coronavirus stimulus bill does provide $473 billion. Okay, $75 billion. Oh, some of that billions goes in cash for vaccines.
Okay.
$26 billion to restaurants. $15 billion to help fund airline payrolls. And another $7.2 billion in the Paycheck Protection Program.
Yes, that's that second wave of PPP.
Now, does everyone
it's a lot more
qualify
strict?
That?
No, it's a lot more strict. They do go backwards looking, and you've got to have at least I think it's a 25% reduction in revenue. Yet you keep your employees. It's a lot more of a strict or rigorous qualification for this second wave of PPP.
Okay, so then my question is: the $26 billion to restaurants, is that no strings attached? Is that
no idea? Yeah,
yeah.
Who knows, right?
And would they also get some of the PPP money?
Yeah, it's all kind of
the devil is in the details.
Yeah, it is, and all of this money. I mean, when you're talking about $1.9 trillion, there's so much waste and potential for fraud and all kinds of wiggle room around all these kinds of things when it's that big of dollar amounts.
Yeah, so they said the Wall Street Journal editorial board estimated that only $825 billion was directly related to COVID, and $1 trillion was a quote unquote expansions of progressive programs, pork, and unrelated policy changes.
Yep.
$200 million went to the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Their budget in 2019 was $230 million.
Oh, wow. So fully funded the whole thing.
Yeah. The agency is so small it doesn't even employ an inspector general.
Oh, wow. Yet it runs $200 million budget.
Yeah.
Wow.
$270 million went to the National Endowment of the Arts. And they got $253 million in 2019.
Yeah, in the last big chunk. Wow. I mean, these has so little to do with COVID, and really nothing to do with COVID.
Yep.
You know, this is money that is being spent. These are my great grandkids' money that's being spent right now.
Yeah. Here's another one. $350 billion. This is more of a detail on some of the government stuff. $350 billion to bail out 50 states and the District of Columbia. The allocation formula uses the unemployment rate in the fourth quarter of 2020. Therefore, states like New York and California, who had strict economic lockdown policies and high unemployment, will get the bailout money.
Wow.
States like Florida and South Dakota, who are open for business, will get less.
Wow. Yet they'll all pay into it.
Yep. $86 billion to save nearly 200 pension plans insured by the PBC.
Yep.
No reforms are mandated. So they're just giving them the money.
Yep. Just give them the money.
These
Don't
badly
change
managed
anything.
pensions are being bailed out.
Yep.
And many of them are co-managed by unions. So it looks like a lot of that's going to stuff that, for us who are more fiscally conservative,
right,
wouldn't be happy with.
Not happy with that, yeah. It's an interesting day in which we live, right? One point when we can spend nearly $2 trillion and call it an American Rescue Plan related to COVID, and less than half of it is actually spent on COVID relief.
Right. But we're not surprised. Everyone's been talking about it, and this is how Congress works these days.
This is how Congress works, right? Well, it's interesting, and I'm glad we talked about this today. Went through some of the details, kind of like you said there, the devil's in the details, right?
And this is just still we don't know.
We barely touched the surface.
You know, if you're a restaurant, is it going to the big chain restaurants,
right?
Or is it going to go to the smaller restaurants? A lot of them are open here, but I'm sure that they're.
Yeah,
they've taken on debt, or
they've either barely made it. I mean, these are important things and important industries. Certainly in a small community like ours, our locally owned restaurants are some of the lifeblood of what we are. So I encourage look into this, Bill. I mean, I know many of you out there listening, you got your $1,400 maybe per person. This last week. I've heard quite a few people have gotten it just in the last 4 or 5 days, but the real cost of that is a lot more than the $1,400 you got per person in this country, right? So we may be sending out those $1,400 deposits there or checks, but it's going to cost us a lot more in the future. Yep. So I'd like to encourage anybody may have missed any part of the show. You can stream it right from our website at austrofinancial.com. You can click on the news link there and find it there. And as always, we like to encourage anybody out there, if you'd like to learn more about what we do here at Austro Financial and how we take care of our clients, give us a call at 273-4425 and come experience the difference when you think beyond investments.
Information provided is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but its accuracy and completeness are not guaranteed. Neither LPL Financial nor the hosts of this show or accept any liability for the use of the information discussed. Consult with a qualified financial, legal, or tax professional prior to taking any action. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Austro Financial Consultants, a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial.